to be involved in a production of this book, and there's varied artists featured in there, all Yakimas. The legends were given by mostly middle-aged and older people, and it was coordinated. The coordinator for this project was Virginia Beavert Martin. However, like I said, there was 53 people involved in the production of it. And recently, you know, we try to do things as we can and go along, and we can get the money. And so one of the things that they did is they wrote the book first, and then the people started to use it independently in the schools. Well, people wanted to buy it as a textbook, and so we went to the State Department of Public Instruction and asked them to cooperate with us on developing a teacher's guide so that it would meet standards and be acceptable as regular standard course material. And so last year, 4 teachers from 4 school districts that would be using the materials, plus 4 community people from each of our 4 districts that chose to get involved, got together for 10 days in a row and bashed brains together to develop a curriculum guide for the book. And so when they did that, now it's incorporated in the social studies and histories classes in 4 school districts. And then we've been talking to some other people, and it looks like that might even go into the education service district for the whole county of Yakima, Klickitat, and our area. And then our big dream is to get it to go statewide, because it really represents some ideas about ourselves in a very constructive way as to who we are. It tells about our child-rearing habits, it tells about our landmarks and how pertinent they are to us, and just expresses in a good way why it is so significant for us to save ourselves as tribal people from Yakima Nation. You know, and it's really important, because if this doesn't get understood, we could become culturally extinct someday. And so that's one. Well, there's a lot of reasoning behind why the parents insist that some of the work be done, that it get into the schools so that the children have it themselves and that they can learn it every day. Because as family life goes now, you really get busy going to work and all the things you have to do. And so if they could learn this through school, they really are going to get it as thoroughly as should be, because we can't do it according to the traditional way as we would like to. So through the schools is a way. Next thing they did was they wrote a Yakima language dictionary with the alphabet, and the dictionary has 3,000 words in it, and it outlines the grammar. It's all analyzed very thoroughly so that we know that we do have a grammatical structure and a protocol, a language protocol, a proper usage of the language, and so that's explained. And then to follow through on that, like I was telling you, the Tribal Council really supports them a great deal. Well, the Tribal Council is the one that pays for the development of all the language books that you see coming from the parent committees, the consortium of Johnson Valley committees. And there's a lot of reasoning for that too, because we've had a lot of problems with some of the agencies saying that we can't have ownership of the material that we produce with using federal dollars. Well, that isn't right, and the tribe should be able to say what is going to be done with the materials and what would be the future and what would be the distribution and the circulation. And so the tribe said, well, if that's the way it is, then we'll pay for it ourselves to make sure that it is taken care of properly according to our ways and our beliefs and protected as it should be. And so that's why the tribe has helped them so much to develop the language materials. And it's really beginning to show too. Like I know that part of the interview has included the teachers at the YES program. Well, for a time that was the only language program that there was in this area formally through school. And that program reached the kindergarten, first graders, second graders, third graders. But now the other districts and some of the people who know how to talk have always associated with the children, try to teach them, but not through a formal recognized program in a school. So now at White Swan, the Mount Adams district, it's a K through 12 program. Granger is incorporating it into their resource room. Glenwood and Klickitat is two of our smallest districts, and so now we're trying to cooperate with them to get it going over there. And then also Priest Rapids is starting it too. So we've got almost all of our districts with some kind of a language program now it's expensive. It's really expensive work to do when you're starting from scratch and you have nobody to go to for help to make the decision other than to use your own intelligence and your own skills. That's why we really place so much importance on Lena So Happy Owings, getting her certificate as a teacher and knowing how, recognized for her skill in using that alphabet system. But it's, like I said, it's really expensive work. It's tedious. It requires a lot of concentration. The employees that work on this type of work really go through some personal experiences because you get frustrated because you want to do it, and you want to do it good, and you want to do it right, you want to make sure the kids get it. And because it takes so much time and concentration, like I said,
Why do you think it's important for kids to learn, Indian children to learn in school about their heritage, and for non-Indian people to learn something about it too?
Because we're precious people of this country. We've been here for years and years and years and years, and our blood's in this earth, right here. We know that we're the Yakima people and have been here for a long time. And so we all not only know that about ourselves as Yakimas, but we've got another project that has to do with language where the Yakimas, Umatillas, Colvilles, Warm Springs, and Nez Perce are cooperating with each other because we're like relatives of each other. So we're supporting each other to make sure that the entirety of Sahaptin language for each of our tribes is preserved so that our children will not become, like I said, culturally extinct. And we're going to stay being those people, and we're going to stay knowing our culture for time eternity. And right now the way to do it is through schools, because we also have to accept the fact that we're in this society as it is now. And so we've got some obligations that our fact of life, you have, like I said, go to work and all that. But then we also have personal obligations to ourselves to stay tribal people, the Aboriginal people of this country. And that's why it's important. And the non-Indians must understand the importance of that. And so we're willing to share some knowledge so that they can understand why it is so significant to us. And I guess that's what people are always talking about. Self-survival. That's why it has to be in the schools.
Can you address the process which has been involved in getting these materials into the schools, working with superintendents, this sort of thing? What has been the process?
Positive thinking. And a lot of people will say, well, the school district does this and does that, and you could really start crying, and assuming that it can't be done. So, well, what we do is we'll develop first of all, develop the material so that when you go to talk to the school district superintendent, you have something to offer to follow through on your plan. See, because then you give them materials in hand and something to work with, and then they know that you increase your chances to make a successful program. So that's why develop the materials, make your appointment, go see the superintendent, find out what are the problems in that district as to why there hasn't been a language program. Is it because you don't have space, you don't have money, you don't have teachers? What are the reasons why there is no language program? Not enough students, not enough interest? And then just start asking those questions to find out what the situation is. And then after you get the answers to those questions, then you just keep working and working and working and working until it becomes a reality and visible and actually happening. Does that answer it?
Yeah, what has been the reception on the part of teachers to these materials, say other than Indian teachers, non-Indian teachers?
That's kind of difficult because there's a lot of teachers out there, and so you get a lot of opinions and a lot of attitudes, and so it would be nice to say, oh, yes, they all like them, they all think it's really neat, but that's not necessarily 100% true. There are problems that you have to face in getting something new like this incorporated into a school, and adjustments that people have to go through to the point of beginning to accept, that this is necessary. And this is a priority of the parents, not only the parents, but their children, their grandfolks. It's a community priority. And so like I said, ideally I'd like to say that everybody thinks it's really a good plan, but it isn't that easy. And so when I said positive thinking, yes, but rather than to take from the negative and say that so-and-so over there is a bad lady or a bad man, well, we're trying to get training materials. There's a project over in Spokane that has developed some training materials about Indian education for non-Indian teachers that work in reservation areas. And it's a very constructive set, and so now we're working to get those field tested in this community so that we can give the school staff the benefit of the doubt and work positively towards getting the attitudes together so that we can proceed with the work that needs to be done in a good frame of thinking.
So far you've dealt primarily with language training, language teaching.
Mm-hmm.
How do you propose, or do you have any plans for expanding the culturally referenced materials into things like social studies and history and English?
You asked a really neat question because I just happen to have some sets of materials that are really good. And you know, we were talking about positive thinking, cooperation, and using your resources. Well, that's what we've been doing. And so Northwest Regional Laboratory has been working with tribes in 4 states, Idaho, Montana, Washington, and Oregon. And they have a community development program where the parents get together and write their own books. And these are books designed especially for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders, all Indian subject. It's a supplementary reading materials. There's 140 books, and they also have many games, puzzles, activity books that go along with the use of these materials. And right now they're being used in Hera and Wapato as supplementary reading. And then here's another thing too. They're for all the children, Indian and non-Indian, and everybody reads from these materials to supplement the reading program. And it's really good, we think, because you know how in some reading materials you have so many words that you have to learn by X grade. Well, what we thought was, well, we're capable of learning more words if we're interested in the subject that we're dealing with. And so we threw that theory out and went ahead and just used the word that we want to use to tell the story. Because when you open this book on the first page, it's so interesting, you want to get to that last page because you want to know what happens. And the reports have come from the Indian and non-Indian parents, and the kids take these materials home, and their folks like to read them too. Their folks like to read them too, and the other children in their family, so they're just really neat. So see, like I said, academics and culture, they can be combined so that you can attain both, and attain them both proficiently. So, you know, you could hold your shoulders straight, you know, and be proud. And that's why I was telling you, I really feel fortunate that I have this job, because I really like working for the people and having them tell me what they want and what their kids want and things that they like, so we can be happy every day, you know. It'd be nice to wake up and know that everything's going all right and look forward to going to school and learning from things like this, as well as the materials that are there, you know, standard materials. So they haven't really gotten into math yet or any of those kinds of subjects, but these are usable in language, reading, culture, history, like you said. Right now they're getting ready to go over and approach the tribal council and see if we can't use some of the materials that have been developed by the tribe themselves or other programs, and ask if we could assume the responsibility of doing a curriculum guide for some of the books that were written by the other programs, so that we're not thinking that we're the only ones can do it, but, you know, try to work cooperatively with the other education programs or just programs that have materials that might be useful for the schools.
If you could you in just a few words summarize what you think the value of education based on cultural derivatives of Native American life, whether that be legends or stories or language? Could you tell me what you think the value of that sort of thing is for Indian people and for non-Indian people? Just as a sort of summary of all the things you said.
Well, The value is, like I said, self-survival, protection of your tribe, protection of yourself as an individual human being that is of Indian descendancy, and knowing it. Because, you know, those are really short words, but to actually know what being an Indian is according to the traditional ways, that's a whole world that you have to learn. It's really big. And I know for myself that I probably, like if I had to measure 1 to 100, you know, percent, I probably know about 1% of what I should about tradition. But I've still got that heart and soul, and I've still got that feeling of, you know, pride in being an Indian and being able to tell you, you know, all my tribes and my band and the location of where my family's from. You know, and I really respect that, and being able, and my children too, you know, driving down a road and saying, this is where our family lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and being able to say that, you know. And it's just, this is where we're from, and people should recognize that. We didn't pick up and migrate to go live someplace else. We choose to stay where we're from, and that's really important. I don't know whether that really answers it, but that's what my feeling is.
What about the relevance to non-Indian people?
Well,
Of this kind of education in the schools, where non-Indian kids there are where it's available to non-Indian kids as well as Indian children.
well, I suppose that their families also have a pride in their heritage, you know, from a European country or another country other than this. And I suppose, well, you see a lot of cultural activities that they have too, and maybe someday they'll have pride as third, fourth, fifth generation descendants of this country. I don't know whether I really know how to answer that, other than
The
to.
real question is, you know, does it help non-Indian people to understand and appreciate better Indian culture?
Well, yes, it really does. It does. But it's, the reason I'm stumbling around so much and having a hard time is because if you haven't been here for the past 45 generations, maybe you don't know the heart and soul feeling about why that's so important. And so when we try to share with them, it seems like a lot of their receiving of our sharing is based on a novelty or a curiosity or something, so it's really hard to get the full explanation and understanding across. And so, yes, it's helpful, and we'll go ahead and we'll keep doing that, hoping that someday we can get the full message to them. But yes, we really need their support because and their understanding, because a lot of the things that affect the things that we're talking about and want to get accomplished are decided by people who are not Indians. So yeah, it's really important for us to share and to try to explain as
Very
best
good.
as possible.
Very good.
I didn't get to do my catch-up or catch. Julian, do you want to do it?
Go ahead.
Why don't you go ahead and do it on the Big 12 basis?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll let Julian do it.
All right. Tell us a little bit then about parent involvement in programs, what they do and how they assist.
Okay.
Maybe just a second before you start. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, parent involvement. Well, this whole program and everything that I've been talking about is parent involvement, and I just serve as the legs, you know, and do the things that they tell me to. But the parents really are the ones that produce the materials, make the decisions, and they assume responsibility, which I think really should be recognized and emphasized, because they do assume the responsibility, and they don't let us get away with anything either. As employees, they make sure that we're doing it according to the way that it should be done, based on an overall community feeling. And of course, you always have some people that are more involved than others, and that reflects. But because of that, and because the parents care about each other, they'll do things that will encourage more people to come. and try not to withhold information that is really important, and try to have the attitude that the information is for everybody. It's not just the director's information, it's not just the board's information. The information should be there for everybody, because if it is, then everybody can talk with each other to do the planning, to do the deciding, because we're all, you know, coming from the same place and have access to the same details that will help us to do the building that we have to get done. And the parents have their meetings once a month as together from throughout the reservation, but they also have, each district has their own meetings, and so they take care of their own district's business plus go to take care of reservation-wide business. And, you know, responsibility is local, so that you don't take away from a person's authority in their own community. But on the other hand, the whole community cooperates. So it's responsibility and assuming authority, you know, for the things that need to be done. But the parents do that around here, and they're very strong, very strong. And they've been having some really good workshops and some really good training to get more people so that they can go to the school, visit the program, find out what it really is, so it isn't just like reading a book and trying to use your imagination as to what's going on. And they're just really doing good, I think, and they're making some changes. Like I said, positive thinking. You know, you could sit around and gripe about the things that are not happening, but there are ways to actually get them changed. And so they're doing that. They're learning what's Office of Civil Rights and understanding how that can be used as an effective way of gaining more constructive services for their children. Plus, they're learning how to read all those little fine line information, the rules and regulations, and realize the opportunities that those papers present to you to make a better, more positive program for your community. So they're really doing some good things, I think. I really like to be a part of it.